Books are a doorway. They are so magical. We have these magical objects in our lives and we have access to them. Books are like a magic system. They really are. And we can delve into the world and into the minds and into the life experiences of people who came before us. That is absolutely a magic system. Now, I actually wanted to share one of my most important life experiences in this video when it comes to books. And it happened to me about 10 years ago, where I was watching a lot of videos on YouTube at the time in kind of like the self-improvement niche. And there was one book title that kept coming up. And it was called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. You've probably heard of it. Now, at the time, I wasn't really a reader. I was a reader as a kid and as an early teenager, but I lost touch with my reading over the years. And so when I heard the title of this book, it didn't register in my mind that I should go and pick it up and read it. Even though, you know, the people in these videos were saying, you have to read this book will change your life. It didn't register in my mind because I didn't see myself as a reader. And so what happened was that one day when I finished work, I was working in a cafe at the time, I randomly felt very inspired, I don't know why, to walk across the road and go into the mall, and I found myself in the bookstore. And I found myself looking at the bookshelf, one of the bookshelves, and I had my head tilted, and there in front of me was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And again, I don't know why I found myself in the bookstore. It was one of those moments where you're just kind of in autopilot. You're just kind of moving and you're not really thinking about what you're doing. You're almost following your intuition. And I picked up this book, and there was this flash moment where I deliberated, should I buy this? This is $30. You know, you consider the price of something and you say $30. And I almost put it back onto the shelf. But what I did instead was I said, you know what, I've heard about this book a bunch of times recently. Let me go and buy it. Who cares? I'll just go and buy it. So I took the book to the counter and I bought this book. And then I went outside and I started to walk home. And it was a beautiful afternoon. And as I was walking home, I had The Power of Now in my bag. And I walked past this park that I would walk past most days on my way home. And I looked at the park and it was so beautiful, glowing there in the afternoon sun. It was just very enticing. And I said, you know what? Let me just go and walk in the park. I might actually just go for a walk and I'll pull out this book that I've bought and I'll start reading it. So I start walking in the park and I'm exploring this park all of a sudden in the beautiful afternoon and enjoying the sunshine, and it was just a lovely experience. And I really feel that I was following this kind of intuitive path. It was almost like I was being led down this path. I wasn't really in control. It almost felt like this destined thing. And I've thought about this often in hindsight, and I really do believe it was. Because, you know, I walked along and I found my way all the way across to the other side of the park. It's a very big and beautiful park in my home city where I'm from, called One Tree Hill. I go all the way to the top and make my way down and found myself in this beautiful glade. Again, the sun was shining down, and I took a seat beneath a tree and I pulled out The Power of Now and I started reading this book. And I don't think the words registered in my head. I was reading the words, but I wasn't really understanding the words yet. And I got past a few chapters and I felt very tired all of a sudden. So I said, well, let me take a quick nap here in the grass and in the sun. So I took a nap. And when I woke up, the world was different. I was in a different world. The sun was so beautiful and it was glowing all around me. The park was glowing this kind of golden green. And the trees were so alive, and they were so green, and they were speaking to me, they were whispering. And really, the world had come alive like I'd never seen it before. I'd never seen the world like this. It was as though my eyes were truly opened and I was seeing the world for the first time. And it was so vibrant with color and life, and there were kids around and their laughter was like so joyful. I could feel the joy in their laughter, and I stood up and I had this book in my hand and I was looking at it. I'm like, what is this book? What has this book done to me? And I remember walking from where I was to this public toilet, which was, just across the park over there. And everything was so slow and rich, and the movement of my body just walking was like, I was so aware of how my body moved. And I approached this public toilet, and it really felt like a lifetime passed from me just walking from where I had sat down in the grass to this public toilet. It was so much time had passed in between, and there was so much laughter and joy all around me of these kids and these families enjoying the afternoon, and the sun was still there, and the park was glowing. And I approached this public toilet, which was half submerged in the ground. It's this really interesting public toilet that's got this kind of rock shelter roof, and you go down these steps, and it felt like I was in this kind of fantasy land, and I was exploring this like dungeon. My life had never felt so adventurous. And I use the bathroom and I come out, and gradually things kind of come back to normal, and I make my way home, and the Power of Now was in my bag. And this was, by my own understanding of it, this was kind of like an awakening for me, a spiritual awakening. And this was where my spiritual journey began. This was about 10 years ago now. And it all started with a book. Just one book led me to this kind of spiritual experience that I didn't go seeking. I wasn't actively seeking this spiritual experience. It kind of happened upon me just because I made the decision to spend $30 on a book. And what is $30 compared to a life-changing experience? It is nothing, and it makes that deliberation of me standing in the bookstore considering whether I buy this book or not, it makes it look completely ridiculous. What is $30 compared to an experience like this? And it was an experience that led me down kind of a spiritual journey, and it was the start of a very a deep spiritual path for me. And I'm so grateful for that experience, right? It all started with a book. And so it's really opened my eyes to what a book really is. I think a book is so much more than what it looks like on the surface. On the surface, it's just, some paper and some words. It's not anything special on the surface, but it represents so much more. It's kind of like a doorway into an entirely new world. And you can understand that in so many different ways. Like, it's a doorway into a fantasy world, right? The Lord of the Rings is a doorway into Middle Earth, and we get to experience Middle Earth, But in another sense, a book could be a doorway into your very future, the future that you were born to seize, right? It could be part of your destiny to pick up a book, right? So yeah, I'm sharing this story to inspire you to not ignore the call of a book at any one time in your life, because I really do believe that books will call you at a certain time in your life. And if you refuse the call, you don't know really what you're refusing. On the surface, you would just be putting a book back on the shelf, but you don't understand what is behind that book and what that book represents for you and your life. You can't possibly see it in that moment. It's not something that you can see, and you just have to proceed with the book and let it guide you to wherever you're meant to go, right? And this is exactly what happened to me. So yeah, I wanted to share this experience and hopefully share this philosophy on the fact that a book is a doorway, and we can step through that doorway at any point. Or maybe the doorway might present itself at some point in your life, and it is there for you to step through into the destined life that you are here to live. I don't know, these are just some thoughts, okay? So let me know if they resonated with you. Maybe share a similar story down below if you have one. I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, don't stop reading. Really honor books. Don't ignore books. They are so important in our lives, especially now in this confusing time in the world. They are doorways into our collective future. So we need you to walk through them. Don't forget, the journey has only just begun, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.